Welcome to the English Mystic Podcast. I'm your host, English Mystic, Dragon Shaman, Spirit Whisperer, and Mr. Explorer of all things seen and unseen. You're tuning in to a very special series honouring the epic Dragon Thunder Summit 2025, a worldwide gathering of visionaries, dragon channels, energy workers and soul-shifting guides. The summit brought together 36 incredible speakers from across the world, each sharing their unique gifts, wisdom and connection with the dragon realms. In this podcast series, we're diving deep, one episode at a time, into the essence of each speaker, their transmission, their gifts, and all the healing and awakening and dragon connections they've brought forward. To explore more about each speaker or to access the full summit replays, visit www.dragonthunder2025.com. Now breathe deep, call in your dragons, and let's step through the portal together. Our next speaker is Sandra Marie, and she shares her journey of connecting with rose energy and dragon consciousness. She explains how she was guided to work with roses since 2010 and later discovered her connection to dragon energies. In this talk, she describes how the elemental rose dragons of earth, air, fire, water and ether work with the body's energy centers to balance and harmonize the physical vessel, while she talks also about the celestial rose dragons who bring in cosmic aspects. She also explains that these energies are here to assist humanity during this time of evolutionary change, helping people embody their spiritual and physical selves fully.
We have our next guest, which, like Kevin just said, follows on really nicely from Denise because it's more of the rose, and that's Sandy Humby. So we're going to the Isle of Avalon in Glastonbury, and I remember last year. No, we're not there anymore. Oh, you're shaking your head. Oh, okay. I remember last year you moved to Glastonbury because the dragon said.
Yeah, I was. I was in Avalon, and that was part of my connection with the rose dragons. But I've now been called to be on the Belinus line, on the spine of Albion, right at the base of the spine of Albion. So I'm working with the with the dragon energy in a slightly different way and on a different node point on the journey. Yeah. So wow. I'm down in Hampshire at the bottom of the spine of Albion right now.
You're right near me then, in the forest.
Yes.
The forest.
Yes.
Yeah, this sort of runs right down to the Isle of Wight, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Albion, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Isle of Wight is known as Dragon Island, interestingly.
Of course, yeah.
So,
Wow. Well, I love that. I love how you just move. It's like the dragons say, go here, go there.
So do the dragons.
I do that, but I haven't actually moved.
The roses I have to keep on picking up and planting somewhere else.
Oh, bless. Okay. So, well, I think, I've introduced you. So we've got Sandy then from Hampshire now. We've moved to the Isle of Avalon, from the Isle of Avalon. And you channeled the elemental, channel with the elemental and rose dragons. Yeah. So, what would you like to share with us today then?
It's a very good question. I was last on this this summit in 2023. And that was when I'd moved to Avalon, and that was my first connection with the dragon energy. That's not been my main pathway, my main language. I've been working with the roses and the rose consciousness consciously since 2010, when they connected with me at the Alhambra in Granada in Spain. And actually, I was drawn into the rose garden before I'd even got into the main Nazareth Palace. I'd seen these roses dancing on top of these clipped hedges, and I'm like, whoa! I think there's a slight detour going on here, and got into the rose garden with my favourite camera. Into one of the rose gardens, because it's just a series of rooms and waterways and fountains. And the roses were saying, no, photograph me. No, me, don't miss me. And so I came home with a camera loaded with rose photographs after a 4-day immersion, and didn't think any more about it. And so I woke up a couple of days later, and there was a voice in my head that said, we'd like you to put 11 of us together. And work with us. We've come to heal the Magdalene wound. We've come to heal the wounded aspects of the feminine in both men and women. But it's always been the women that have sought the healing first, for their children, for their families and their communities. And so that started the journey with the roses. And since then, I've published a Rose Oracle for the Heart in 2014 and a second edition in 2019. And I thought we were complete. I had no other agenda or desire to do anything more than that. I was sharing, inner journeys with the roses and connection through the roses to Lady Nada, who is the overlighting soul of Mary Magdalene. And that's been the leading guide for my work for the last 15 years. I mean, I've got a history that runs back before that. And I had 20 years as couture wedding dress designer. And so I worked with silk and antique French textile. But I mean, all the women in the 80s and 90s wanted roses on their dresses. So, and I managed to manifest a manageress in one of my shops called Rosemary, who was a real dab hand at gathering up silk to make silk roses that we sewed onto the dresses. But what was it about the rose? So actually, absolutely following on from what Denise was saying, the frequency of the rose is just pure love. She's got no other agenda, right? The rose opens her 5 sepals, just like you would draw a 5-pointed star. And embedded within the 5-pointed star, it is the golden mean, the ratio of the golden mean, which is 1 to 1.61803. And that is what we recognize as the growth proportion of our bodies and the nature growth proportion of plants and so on, and what we recognize as beauty. And for me, the path of the rose is the path of beauty, truth, and love. So when I got got nudged quite loudly to move to Avalon, I listened and I paid attention and I made the move, not knowing anybody really. I knew a couple of people in that area, and I was too far from Glastonbury for that to feel like that was a real hub. But I'd only been there a few weeks, and there was a strong nudge to go to Borough Mump. And I knew Borough Mump because of my connection with Rory Duff and his work on the Michael Mary line and the harmonizing of the nodes, the earth nodes at solstices and equinoxes. And so again, I listened and I got to Borough Mump. And of course, there's no health and safety at Borough Mump. You just scramble up this mound in the countryside, and it's a crossing point. It's a node point on the Michael Mary line as it makes its way up from Cornwall to the east coast of the UK. And it's the last crossing before you get to Glastonbury Tor, which actually the consciousness of Borough Mump said, this is where it really truly is. You don't want to listen to what's going on over there, if you're in the right place, sort of thing, which is sort of interesting. So there's me, I'm used to communing with, the guiding beings of the Rose Path, with no idea that there's anything else lurking for me. And I sit on the mump and look at the sheep and the amazing view over the levels. And I can hear this sort of hum in the land. And it's, it's a really deep earthly hum. Now, I'm all air and water, right? I'm I'm lots of ideas and emotions and so on. I have to work hard to be earthed. So I'm listening to this hum and thinking, this is interesting. And I've been weaving the roses with in alchemy crystal bowls. So, sound and the work of sound with the rose has been, in my field of frequency. So I've been working with the energy signature of the sound as a carryaway for the rose healing. And especially if I've been working with healing on the land for clients or healing in homes. And even if I've done that in person, I've taken one of my crystal bowls with me wherever possible, or even I've got a traveling Tibetan heart bowl that I will take. But I will often go to the seed point of the property and create a grid, and then use the sound as a carrier wave into the property. So I was a bit interested by this hum, and I felt a nudge to go and stand in this. It's a derelict church or semi-derelict church to St Michael that's on top of Borough Mump. So I went into the tower. I felt really strongly drawn to hum the note that I'd heard. And as I hummed the note, the tower pulsed. And as I went off note, it stopped. And I went back on note, tower pulsed. Fascinating. And then I went out into the nave area, this with no roof and no glass in the windows, just a bare shell. And there was a sort of a spot that was calling me. So I went and stood on it. And I heard this voice that said, "We've been waiting for you." Okay. And they said, "We are the Rose Dragons. We've come from the fifth density, heart of Gaia. And we come as rose-hearted dragons because that's your field of receptive frequency." Okay. And they went on to say that they were here and they were back to connect with those in this period of evolving consciousness, to connect with those who have awakened to the remembrance of the times of co-creating with the dragon energies. So they also said that at the time of the dragon slaying, they had either gone off planet or gone underground because they knew that there was no longer a frequency attunement or a frequency alignment to co-create with humanity. The frequency field had dropped too low for them to be able to work in a way that was going to enhance the process. So they've been waiting patiently till we were ready, or enough of us had reached a frequency match, because it's all about the frequency. That's what enables us to connect with all of these fields of consciousness. If we haven't got that frequency running in us, it can't resonate with us. So this is why the inner work is so powerful. And I guess that's why the preemptive journey for me with the roses, to heal and align that internal channel, to be able to bring heaven on earth, to be able to be an acupuncture point of light on the planet in this time of evolutionary change. And, that's what we signed up for. That's why we're here. We're not here by happenstance. We're here because we all carry a field of frequency that is beneficial from our soul alignment perspective, or our soul evolutionary perspective, and for what we are here in service to this greatest shift, in, is it 12,000 years? I mean, this is such a massive shift of consciousness that we're shepherding. We're visionaries. We're holders of those frequency fields that are allowing for this shift for humanity. We're on the cutting edge of that wave in whatever our spectrum of vibration is that connects us to dragon consciousness. And I think you'll probably have noticed that there was a wave of dragon awareness that seemed to come up, coming into probably into 2020. It was starting to evolve, and those of us that were open to that energy were being taken to the places where that would be reactivated. So for me, the first conscious contact with this group of energies was in September, October of 22. So it's been an incremental development for me of this connection with the Rose Dragon consciousness. And what they showed me, because as I say, I have this Rose Oracle for the heart, which very much works within the field between the Soul Star and the Earth Star. So it's about clearing the old patterns, clearing the trauma stories, clearing the wounded parts of the heart field, and start bringing in a salve that can heal and rebalance that energy, so that we could make that journey from head to heart with greater ease, and also that we could ride the waves of the incoming bioplasmic light, the biophotonic light that's been coming in incrementally, so that there wasn't so much resistance within the field. So the rose dragons, when they showed up, I understood that I was actually communing with the elemental rose dragon of ether. And a little bit later on, I'm going to talk you through the process of connecting with the elements and the elemental rose dragon frequencies as I receive them. And what's gorgeous here is that that many of us are now speaking of the rose dragon frequencies, but we're each coming in at it from a different lens of perception. And that is where the richness is, because actually all of us, everyone on this call, has got a different spectrum of heart field vibration that allows us to hear one person, or not, or only partially hear another, or not really be able to hear what somebody else is saying. And so when Kev's brought this amazing body of dragon people together, dragon riders, dragon hearts, there is something that everybody is going to resonate with, that is in that offering. And I think that's the magic. It's a rich process, an enriching process. So in my commune with the elemental rose dragons, and through the lens of the elemental rose dragon of ether, the quintessence, she who holds all of the other four elements, and I'll explain how she calls them in when we a little bit later on. So what they explained was that the first piece of the work that I had to do was to connect in, to bring in the elemental rose dragons of ether, of the elemental rose dragons of earth. And so, what they've done is, just like the Rose Oracle, they commune with me through the rose heart. So each of the roses in the Rose Oracle set are my photographs, as are all of these. They're photographs that I photographed in different rose gardens around the world. And they've come forward to hold a frequency field of these different elements, these different pieces to the journey. And it's through the rose heart that each one of these carries, because it's not the bush. It's like people say to me, well, do you know what name that rose is? And it's like, no, it's not the bush. It's the consciousness of that particular bloom on that particular bush that radiated, that said, no, photograph me. And at the time, of course, I didn't have any idea that there was any more. I thought I was complete with the Rose Oracle. So, they are all extraordinary roses in their own right, but they all are holding a field of frequency that, as I say, I'll give you an opportunity to see whether they connect and they tune in with you a bit later on. So they said that there were the 5 elemental rose dragons, but they also said that there were 13 celestial rose dragons that would follow on. But that actually what I needed to do was to embody the first 5, these elemental rose dragons first, because that's the foundation of the work. That's the foundation. This vessel is of the earth. Every molecule of this vessel is made up of earth, air, fire, and water. It came from the earth and it will return to the earth. But it's here in order to be the vessel for soul and for spirit, for this evolving journey, for however many more breaths I have on planet Earth. This is my vessel, right? And this is why the herbs and working with the crystal kingdom, working with the mineral kingdom, working with the herbs, this is why this rebalances the body, because that's what we are. And so the dragon priestesses, the dragon mothers, knew that they were high priestesses of that pathway. They knew the herbs. They knew the elemental connection with the herbs. They knew what was going to rebalance what was out of balance in this physical body, just as well as the crystal masters that are here know what the crystal qualities are that are going to rebalance and re-energize this vessel so that it can function at its best to be in best service in whatever way in this great time of change, in this great time of the wheel turning. So the celestial rose dragons bring in a different quality. They bring in a cosmic aspect to this. And these 13 celestial rose dragons connect and create a crown of 12 stars. They are a geometry of 12 around the one. And the one is the zero field. It's the still point. It's a pure, innocent connection to God, Source, Great Spirit, that is then spectrumed out into this crown of 12 stars. And I was just blown away when I started to develop that aspect of the work under the guidance and the tutelage of the celestial rose dragons and the divine mother energy, that in Revelation 12:1, and you can't make this up, in Revelation 12:1, it speaks of an apparition of Mother Mary clothed by the sun with her foot on the moon and around her head a crown of 12 stars. So I could see what they were doing. They were activating the Rose Oracle cards, the Rose Oracle frequencies, and the path of sacred homecoming that the Rose Oracle offers. They were activating it to another octave. They were like topping and tailing it within a vesica, a golden vesica of light. So it's been a wild ride, bringing this lot through, and I eventually got them published last summer solstice 24, and so they are available in the Chalice Well bookshop, and they are available on my website. If anybody is interested, there's so many amazing offerings that everybody has in their own creation of frequencies that carry these amazing dragon energies. Yeah. And I think the other thing to say is that, we're going back to Burrow Mump. In the rich and varied conversation that I've had with Rory Duff over the years, he speaks of these points in time where the node points, the energy lines come into harmony. And when he speaks of those energies coming into harmony, he sees the node point opening like a rose. And I thought, do you know, I mean, this is amazing, isn't it? There is this weave of these currents on the earth, on Mother Earth's body. And then there is this weave of the currents on our physical bodies. Because as we will experience a little bit later, this is what for me, this is what the elemental rose dragons have brought. They've shown us how to balance the energy, how to bring that energy up through the physical body to activate the heart, to activate the pineal gland. So they are powerful allies in our journey of optimizing our energy, because that's what it's got to do. You know, if it isn't in some way strengthening our field, strengthening our focus, or giving us some sense of co-creation at this particular time, then we're looking in the wrong direction. You know, to be the brightest light, to be the clearest acupuncture point of light, is where our greatest service is. And we have all been beautifully placed in these various points around the planet. As I said to Nicola, yes, I was in Avalon, but they went, no, your work there's finished. Off you go. And here's where we want you to be. And so, you know, here I was on the Michael Mary line, running up from Devon, Cornwall, across to the East Coast. And actually what this does is this is going north-south. This is going, actually they cross at the Uffington White Horse in Oxfordshire. It's where these two lines go. So there's a super node there. I'm thinking that now I've sort of settled a bit. I might make a pilgrimage up to see what it feels like in a super blooming in this. And what is, it is said actually that before it became a white horse, that it was a dragon. And I have yet to go and tune in on that, but how interesting might that be? Either way, you know, a horse works from the heart, right? A horse is the consciousness of a horse would expand its field to meet you as you walk in the gate. It will know exactly where you're at. It will know exactly the consciousness of your heart, without you even, you know, getting any closer. So here's something that it's showing us that the dragons and the dragon consciousness, you know, are really helping us come home to self, home to the heart, because there's nowhere else to go. You know, it's that is our that's our currency. That's our you know, going into new earth, whatever that might be, in how we view that frequency. All we know is what has been is still in the process of crumbling, and we don't yet know. We're in that void point. We know there is more to crumble, but we don't quite know what the birth is going to look like. And so some of us are here as vision holders, some of us are here as visionaries to hold that frequency and to hold that vision, because the visioning is the first process before anything comes into substance, into form. You know, it's like me coming back from the Alhambra and getting that download in the morning with the voice that said, you know, we want you to put 11 of us together and work with us. Well, it was an incremental process until that physicalized into the oracle, in the same way that the rose dragons came about. And actually, there was nearly a year where I had the crown of 12 stars on my coffee table in my sitting room that was just holding space. It was holding an activation and a frequency in my space while I journeyed with the elemental rose dragons, while I got their messages, while I integrated it in me. And actually, when I came to then focus on the celestial rose dragons, only one of them remained the same. It was like there was a holding pattern, but as I came to bring them into physicality and to form, those frequencies of the roses that had been holding space moved out, and there were other roses that needed to come in and replace, which was absolutely fascinating. Just the whole process. And then recognizing that there were several voices that I could hear that were connected, particularly with the celestial rose dragons. There was the consciousness of the rose heart, of the actual. Actually, this is the one that's come forward. I dowsed to see which one wanted to hold the essence of this particular gathering. For me, and it was Celestial Rose Dragon 8, and she speaks to the sacred power of truth. And so, this is so fascinating, isn't it? This is a rose actually I photographed in Sedona. She was in a rose garden in the center of Sedona because I'd gone to speak about the roses to a group in Phoenix and then go up to Sedona some years back now. So the celestial rose dragons are much more qualities. They're sacred powers. They're sacred powers of activation from a cosmic perspective. And they're all facets of Christ consciousness. And so the voice has been through the heart of the rose, through the rose dragon, cosmic rose, celestial rose dragon consciousness, but also an energy that called herself Lady Mary, which, for me is the ascended master name of Mother Mary. So there's different angles, there's different voices of wisdom that they've shared around these different qualities, these different aspects that if we embody, if we take them in as sacred powers, they can further activate our journey, our journey within ourselves. So it has been a wild ride. I didn't come from a family that had any of this in the background. I am total wild card in my family, and I didn't have books. There weren't books in my family home of birth. There was no art. There was nothing that would nurture a creative, sensitive child. But I came from a line of gardeners. And I found that absolutely fascinating, both in the connection with the roses, but also with the rose dragons. So they were masters of understanding the natural world, the rhythm of the seasons, the working with the elements. Yeah. And so, I might not have had one aspect of that kind of nurturing. I've met people that have said, oh, I'm a third generation homeopath. Or, my father was part of the Theosophical Society, or, whatever that storyline is. But there was nothing like that in my birth family of origin. But there was a sensitivity, particularly to the rose. My grandfather and my maternal grandparents lived in a small cottage in the middle of the New Forest at Burley. And my grandfather was a professional gardener, and he had a rose garden in front of the little cottage, which, he would be an opportunist in the unmade up road that was outside of the cottage for the fresh manure. that got that got dropped outside, which he would then, store and then put onto his beloved roses. And I love the fact that out of the SHIT of life is fragrance and beauty and blossom that comes from, how you nurture the root. And actually, is that not what we do? Does this vessel do the same? The stories that we hold about ourselves are mostly in the second chakra, right? That base chakra, that familial pattern rising out up to what Jung would call the individuation in that sacral chakra, which holds all our stories. And so if you look at the rose of the heart and the stem going down the body and into that sacral area, we're transmuting the stories that we were given in our childhood, that we took as beliefs, and alchemizing them through the beauty and the fragrance and the blossoming of the heart. As you can tell, I can go off down all sorts of storylines and go off piste and all sorts. Some of the people on my courses, honestly, they are so patient because I've gone off on a track. It's never scripted. So, I think what is also very interesting is that if you come back into the Magdalene, or you come in to the Marys, full stop, because Mary is a station, right? It's a frequency field. And Mary was Mary Magdalene, or Mother Mary, or Mary Salome, or Mary Jacobi. These were all Marys. They were priestesses. They were high priestesses. They were mistresses of the earth. They were mistresses of the herbs. And they knew how to rebalance and align the body, but they also knew how to work the energies up through the body to optimize the frequency. Like a Kundalini type energy. And so and many of them were dragon priestesses, not all, but many of them were dragon priestesses. And were well aware of the energy currents in the earth and how that mirrored the energy currents in the body, and how the celestial dragons or the cosmic dragons were all part of that sacred weave of who we are, what makes us full, what makes us who we are. So what I came back to was that the Magdalene's message to us was to be 100% spiritual and 100% physical. And as I say, I'm all air and water. I spent most of my life trying to get out of my body, not in it. Trauma in my childhood meant that I really wanted to be out of my body. And so what was absolutely fascinating was how the calling is to descend into the body, absolutely come in to the body, embodiment. And that is our journey. How can we fully embody in this body and feel safe and feel fully aligned, vertically aligned, so that we can just radiate what it is that we come to do, how we can inspire people, how we can uplift people, how we can be fully present to what's unfolding. So I thought that it would be really fun to do just a little process with the elemental rose dragons in particular, because they were the ones that they really said to me were the primary pieces. And it's like Maslow's triangle. Unless you've got that base plate, you are grounded, you are centered, you are fully embodied, you can't go vertical and be steady. It's not possible, right? So I thought we could have some fun and see what you feel with these particular energies. So I would suggest, I invite you to connect in with your Earth Star. Now, your Earth Star is an energy center 3 to 4 feet below your feet in the Earth. Could be 2, 3, 4 feet in the Earth. You'll just get a sense of it. If you just take your energy focus down from your base chakra and down through and connect into the earth. See if you can locate your earth star. And actually, if you just consciously ask to be shown where your earth star is, you will just get a sense of it. And then you want to connect in with this particular rose. And she's the elemental rose dragon of ether. And when I'm working with the roses, what she does is she rises up from the Gaia gateway deep. She says that she has stayed protecting the heart of Gaia. So she gently, as she opens, comes up to the Gaia gateway deep in the earth and rises up to the earth star. So just get a sense of her. I mean, who knew I had a rose in my stash that had 4, was diamond shaped? You know, that was a surprise. So, you know, this rose is the quintessence. She holds in earth, air, fire, and water, all 4 of the elements. That if you can get a connection with her, with your earth star, and then call in the elemental rose dragon of the earth. And you'll feel her moving along the dragon song lines to connect in with your earth star. And just welcome her. And you might just get a sense of her energy. And then I invite you to connect in with the elemental rose dragon of the air and call in the elemental rose dragon of air to connect in with your earth star. And feel her moving along the dragon song lines. And actually, you may find that as soon as you connected in, they all turned up. There's the elemental rose dragon of fire. Just feel her energy, different again. And the elemental rose dragon of the waters. Powerful, powerful. We are over 70% of us, our physical bodies are water. And we know from the work of Veda Austin, Masaru Emoto, and many others that are now focusing on the waters, how powerful and potent that is, and particularly in the plasmic field of the waters, the quality of the waters, the 4th element of water, that is mostly what our bodies are made up with. It's not liquid water, it's plasma. And just get a sense of those energies all connecting in with the elemental rose dragon of ether in your earth star. And it's interesting, the elemental rose dragons, as I work with them, tell me they are unified fields in themselves. They are not masculine, feminine. They are unified field, not a gender-based or polarized. They've already unified in the rose heart, which is why they've come to me as rose-hearted dragons. So just get a sense, and you might get a primary sense of it being this elemental rose dragon of ether. And then just get a sense of that energy rising from your earth star to your base chakra and sacral chakra, this foundational aspect of your physical vessel. And feel these energies rising and connecting with that base 2nd chakra energy. And what happens there is the water and the earth energy join with the Ida channel, the cooling channel in the body, the yin, the moon channel. And the fire and the air connect with the Pingala channel, the yang, the solar, the warming channel up through the body. These energies that weave right the way up through the body, crossing at the chakra points, moving up to the heart and moving up to the third eye, the pineal gland, in harmony, in balance. And the central column is called the Shushumna, this central column, prana column through the body. And that's where the elemental rose dragon of ether rises. And as she rises, she brings with her a bioplasmic field of liquid light. And that works its way up through the body, expanding and traveling through the nadis to fill your physical body with light. This is the enlightenment piece, right the way up through, so that you can feel this sense of the balancing of the polarities, the weaving of the water, the air, the earth, and the fire. And bringing a connection into your heart field, really feeling the way that the energies create balance and create harmony in your body. And you may be aware of the energy of the ether wanting to rise, as I say, through the third eye and up to the crown. And as she does that, she calls in her counterpart from the celestial realms. And that is the celestial rose dragon 013, who is a pure iridescent stream of God consciousness. An absolutely extraordinary rose. And what is most sublime is that these two roses create this acupuncture point of light, bringing the elemental rose dragon of ether, and I see her as a crystalline dragon that has got iridescent rainbows in her. And this is a pure stream of iridescent God consciousness. And these two roses are from the same bush at different points in the year. They are both from a rose called New Dawn. And working with this energy and working with this alignment offers us a new dawn in each morning, offers us a new path, a new birthing, a rebirthing, and that consciousness of bringing balance and harmony in the body with the pure love of the roses, for me, is just extraordinary. So, I do hope that you've been able to get a sense of how potent they are and how they work and how they are here, to assist humanity at this time. They are here to be vessels of love. They are here to bring a realignment, a coherence in the heart field, and also to say that if you know where your sun sign is, your moon sign, and your ascendant, you can see where your strengths are in certain elements. And you can then consciously work with, for me, as I said, I'm all air and water, so believe me, I've worked a lot with these. And you can actually work with them in a way that you can put a glass of water onto the energy or the sacred power that you're wanting to really deepen in your connection or heal. And within 10 minutes, through the process called epitaxy, where the frequency field of one thing absolutely absorbs into the water, you can drink this because the water becomes structured and it's absorbed in the body at a cellular level in a different way. Anyway, that's about all I've got to share right now. But I hope it's been interesting, and I hope that it's inspired you some way along to see what these dragon energies, not just what I'm bringing, but what all of us that have come here to share are bringing in our ability to assess and upshift humanity at this time. So if we've got time, I'm open to questions and will do my best to answer.
Thank you so much. That was such a lovely journey, and just listening and hearing about your journey with the roses and the dragons, and just the ultimate trust that you have in them as well, just to go wherever they send you. Loved it.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions they want to share? The roses were just beautiful.
Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me, how they've come together. So it's just, it's, I've just followed the path, wherever that has nudged me to look or to go. And sometimes, it's put me in a treacle pot. It's not been a bed of roses all the time. And I mean, I know they say stop and smell the roses, but actually, it certainly has been, quite a wild ride at times, and yet they are transforming people's lives, and the Rose Oracle and the Rose Dragons have gone around the world, and there's people that work with them with different modalities. The Rose Dragons, the first set of the Rose Dragons will Rose Oracle is designed to sit on the chakras. You can actually, you can do a self-healing grid for yourself. And so many of us that work within the healing arts, we don't take so much time for self-care because our attention's all out there. But you can lay down and put the roses on the chakras where they tell you which chakras they're aligned to, and they create a healing grid. And 10 minutes and it resets and recalibrates the body. And it was so fascinating when I first started teaching this, because I was teaching it here in the UK and in New York, that I would douse the chakras up through the body, have somebody on the couch, douse the chakras up through the body and see the orientation of preference, whether it's a yang yin process through the body. And when I put the rose cards actually on the physical body and then doused, that each chakra would come into perfectly harmony. The pendulum would swing both ways, anti-clockwise, clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise. And what the roses were doing was in training the chakra to its optimized frequency. So it would, it's been, the absolute optimized frequency for health, in bringing balance, which is what that Ida Pingala stream does up through the body. So there's the Ida, the Pingala, and the Shushumna. Ida, the yin channel, the Pingala, the yang channel, and the Shushumna, as I say, which is what the ether rose dragon showed me that she rises through. So it's just fascinating. Yeah. No questions. I've obviously fried you all. I can talk for England. Oh.
I could listen all day to your wisdom. It's just great. There's very, very similar ways in how, in how I work, and the roses have been coming into me as well. So I might have to connect with you, I think.
Fascinating, isn't
Chat. It is. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. There's one question actually from Alessandra. Do you see dragons as roses?
I'm clairaudient and clairsentient. there are moments when I have glimpsed clairvoyance. I'm working with frequency rather than form, in a dragon form. I've never been into sort of mystical dragons, and in fact, when I came in on 2023, I felt I did feel like imposter syndrome going on here. Actually, I was a rose person, and actually, yes, I was beginning to work with dragons, but there was all these amazing dragon people on here. So, for me, I work through the senses. And so for me, I don't see dragons. The consciousness that I receive comes through the rose heart. So it's a very pure field. It's not distorted by anything, or it comes in as a pure knowing. That's the best way I can describe it. I hope that answers the question. Yeah, Simone, that absolutely. So for me, they come in through the frequency of the roses. They come through the rose heart. It's that it's that communication and that connection, but it's a stream of consciousness. For me, the dragon energy is a stream of consciousness, whether that's an elemental consciousness or whether that's a cosmic celestial consciousness. Because we're the place where that meets and merges. We're the place where the alchemical magic happens in this vessel. Anything else? In that case.
Sorry, there's one more question just above. The two came in at once. There's one that says, do you know whether the name Mary and different other versions of it, such as Marion, have a connection with Mother Mary or one of the Marys?
It's a field of consciousness. For me, that Marie, Mary, it's interesting because over the process of working with the Rose Dragons, I've been very strongly guided to go back to my birth name. So for all of my working years, I've been Sandy Humby, and I've done the first stage of going back to my birth name, which is Sandra Marie, right? So we are this Mary energy is a frequency. It's an energetic code, if you like, and I don't think it's towards one or the other. So the interesting thing is that the elemental rose dragons feel much more connected to Mary, Mother Mary, to Mary Magdalene, because she was all about embodiment. She was all, you see her in red and green, right? These are earth colors. You see her on any of the religious artwork. She's always in red and green. Mother Mary is always in white and ice blue. And actually, when I was in Sedona, I went up to the Buddhist stupa at Sedona and just sat in meditation, and my eye was taken to the red soil or the red rocks and the green sort of tundra, the green or the greenery, the plants, and how that was dancing with the pale blue and the white of the sky. And it was just like this sacred dance of Mother Mary and her connection to sort of like Eve, the purity energy, and Mary Magdalene, and that calling to embody, that calling to be fully here, embodied. They need to dance together. The two energies need to come together to merge for that fullness. But that Mary frequency is the absolute essence for me of the sacred feminine. Whether at whatever point of those two bits. Yeah.
Thank you. There's just one more. I don't know, we've just got a couple of minutes. You might be able to answer it. Have you This is from Alan. Have you connected to any black rose dragons? Does that frequency have any correlation with the elemental or cosmic rose dragons?
Not yet. You know, I mean, the black for me is about the void. So whether you're looking at from that as the elemental rose dragons coming up from the void, or whether this is I wouldn't say a black hole. No, but you know, do you know what I mean? I don't know. So I don't see the dragons as colors. You know, actually, I mean, I have one when I was working with a client on a big property, actually an amazing property, in just actually that was in Sedona too, and they managed to secure another plot of land which was 70 acres of untouched land around Sedona, which is unheard of. But you know, my client had said that it had been waiting for her from lifetimes past. And actually, she had a strong connection to dragon. I mean, she in this beautiful sacred geometry house that they lived in, she said that she had a red dragon that worked the perimeter. But when I worked to tune the energy of the land, the piece of land that they bought, there was a rose dragon portal that was opening on that piece of land that was connected on a line to the house that they lived in, because they were in two different parts of Sedona. So, you know, I you know, I can't, tomorrow I might be able to tell you all about black dragons. You know, today I can't. You know, I think that this is the fascination, isn't it? Once you start on this journey, whether it's a journey with the roses, whether it's a journey with the rose dragons, or whatever field of frequency the dragon is connecting with you with, this is an ongoing, evolving path. It's not a fixed one-hit wonder. And if we're fixed, we're finished. Right? This is being open to where that stream of consciousness is going to take you. And we are in evolving times. This is the adventure. Crazy as it is, but this is the adventure we signed up for. We didn't read the small print, but here we are.
Oh, thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
It was just fascinating.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you for journeying with us today on the English Mystic Podcast, Dragon Thunder Summit 2025 edition. This is just one voice, one frequency in a greater dragon symphony, each echoing across the earth right now. If you felt the stir in your heart, if you heard a whisper from your dragon allies, then the work is beginning. Be sure to explore all 36 epic speakers and their transmissions by heading over to the website www.dragonthunder2025.com, where the portal is open. Until next time, walk boldly with your dragons, speak your truth like fire, and may your path be guided by the ancient winds. Stay mystical, stay wild, stay dragon aligned. This is the English Mystic. See you next time.
In the realm where spirits dance, where dragons soar with fiery glance, a song of power, strength untold, for human hearts, for young and old. Wings that span the starry night, scales that gleam with ancient light. Dragons rise, guardians bold, tales of healing, tales untold. Almighty ones, wise and grand, protectors of this sacred land. With breath of fire, a timeless art, they heal and mend each wounded heart. Through shadows deep and forests wide, they guide us with a noble stride. In the dance of life, a sacred chance to heed the call of dragon trance. Scale by scale, a shield they weave. In the moonlit night, their magic breathe. Whispers of protection, strong and true. In the realm where dreams come through. So gather round, O kin of earth. Let the dragon's melody give birth to healing streams and fiery light as we journey through the shaman's night. O dragons, ancient and divine, your friendship like the stars will shine. In the tapestry of life, a song we weave with spirits, dragons, hearts believe.